Let's go over to Meg Terrell for the latest on the president's medical condition. Meg?
Eamon, thanks so much. Of course, we know that the president has been treated now with 3 different prescription drugs, one of which is not yet approved by the FDA. So let's walk through that treatment protocol. We learned, of course, on Friday that the president had been given the experimental antibody cocktail from Regeneron. And then Friday evening, his doctor said he started a 5-day course of remdesivir, which, of course, is an antiviral from Gilead that does have an EUA, an emergency use authorization for treatment of COVID-19. Then Saturday, we got the news that he started the steroid dexamethasone, and that was in response to 2 drops in his oxygen levels. Now, guys, there's a lot of focus on the use of this medicine because it does imply he has more severe COVID-19. And in fact, doctors that I spoke with over the weekend point out that an oxygen level of 94% or less, which his doctors said the president reached twice in the last few days, does constitute severe COVID-19. Now, what do the data say about how well these drugs work? Well, let's start with the Regeneron antibody cocktail. We only saw the results from that clinical trial on Tuesday of last week, guys. It's been less than a week since we saw this, but it did show in this trial of 275 people, it reduced viral levels in non-hospitalized patients and shortened the time to have symptoms. Now, remdesivir, Gilead's drug, shortened recovery time in hospitalized patients to 11 days from 15, and now is typically given when patients go to the hospital, guys. Now, in terms of dexamethasone, that's the steroid drug, an old steroid, and showed in a trial in the UK called the recovery trial to reduce deaths by 1/3 in patients on ventilators and by 1/5 for those on oxygen. But it is not recommended for patients early in the course of the disease where it could actually potentially cause harm, guys. But in this situation, doctors say remdesivir plus dexamethasone is what you would get at any hospital when you're hospitalized for COVID-19 if your disease is severe enough. The addition, of course, of the Regeneron antibody cocktail is unknown. We haven't seen data on these 3 drugs together before, and President Trump, one of only a handful of patients in the world probably to be treated this way. Guys?
That's saying something, isn't it, Meg? Not that he's part of a experiment or a group that's undergoing, testing for those 3 together, but essentially that's what we're seeing. The president of the United States. It's kind of weird. It's got to be the first time that's happened.
I don't recall a president ever being given an experimental drug during a pandemic like this.
Right.
A lot of firsts happening right now, Joe. And there are a lot of questions. The president got this under compassionate use outside of a clinical trial, of course. Only a handful of patients have received this antibody drug that way. There are limited supplies of it. And so you can imagine the requests must just be pouring into Regeneron to try to get this drug as well. And the company's trying to finish its clinical trials, and they don't have unlimited supply of this medicine. But analysts I'm seeing this morning already speculating it's likely to get an emergency use authorization within days, as the use in the president is sort of a tacit endorsement by the federal medical, group that this is a drug worth using.
And you've reported again and again, Greg, the anecdotally how people say, God, I feel great. And I mean, I've even heard that just from people that are in our community, that they go from feeling really thinking that, wow, I'm getting better, it's great, and then it can get much worse quickly. So we're still in that period, I think, at this point.
Yeah, we absolutely are. I mean, 7 days is often the period that you hear to be watching the most closely. And the thing that doctors are telling me over the weekend is just this is a really unpredictable disease. There's nothing typical about it. And so you do have to be very careful, particularly when you see drops in oxygen like that and people worry about patients really declining fast.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.